It was a stormy October night when Alex first noticed the faint light blinking at the top of the old abandoned lighthouse on the edge of Hollow Bay. The structure had been out of use for decades, left to crumble against the harsh coastal winds. Yet locals whispered about strange happenings, unexplained cries, sudden shadows, and eerie lights that appeared when the fog rolled in. Most dismissed these stories as superstition, but Alex had always been drawn to places with a dark history. As a freelance journalist with a fascination for the paranormal, Alex had come to Hollow Bay, hoping to uncover a story that could revive their career. The lighthouse, looming like a lonely sentinel against the dark sea, seemed like the perfect subject. Armed with a flashlight, a notebook, and an old camera, Alex approached the rusted gate. The metal groaned as it swung open, echoing into the night like a warning. Inside, the lighthouse smelled of salt, mold, and something older, something almost metallic. The spiral staircase twisted upward into darkness, and every step Alex took seemed to awaken the building itself. The walls creaked as if sighing under the weight of its own history, and the air grew colder with every ascent. Halfway up, Alex noticed a small, faded plaque embedded in the wall, in memory of Captain Elias Harrow, lost at sea, 1897. Legend had it that Captain Harrow had vanished without a trace, and some claimed that his spirit lingered in the lighthouse, eternally searching for the ship that had claimed his life. Suddenly, a cold draft swept through the stairwell, carrying with it the faint scent of seaweed and something else, something like smoke, though no fire was present. Alex shivered, gripping the railing tighter, and heard it, the whisper of a voice, soft, distant, and unmistakably human. "Leave, while you can." Alex froze, heart pounding, but the rational mind insisted it was the wind. Yet the whisper came again. The light at the summit, Alex's. For a moment, it seemed as though the figure was drifting closer. Yet when Alex blinked, it had returned to its original position. The journalist raised the camera, hands trembling, and snapped a photo. The flash illuminated the ghostly presence, revealing a face twisted in eternal anguish, mouth open as if trying to speak, but no sound escaped. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the stairwell below. The sound of falling debris, or perhaps someone or something descending rapidly. Alex's instinct screamed to flee, but the compulsion to document this encounter was overwhelming. The figure at the platform's edge tilted its head, and a chilling, distorted voice resonated through the air. "Turn back, or join us." Alex stumbled back, heart racing, but curiosity forced them forward. The lighthouse itself seemed to respond to the fear, the walls vibrating faintly, as though alive. the camera lens fogged up despite the storm's gusts, and in the blurred glass, Alex could see dozens of faint silhouettes forming and dissolving around the central figure. They weren't human, at least not anymore. Their faces were twisted, mouths open in silent screams, eyes hollow, and a sudden crack split the air, the platform's railing giving way under Alex's weight until the staircase appeared faintly in the dim moonlight. But as they moved, the temperature dropped even further. Frost began forming on the metal railings, and Alex could see their own breath, ragged and trembling. From the darkness, faint footsteps echoed. Slow, deliberate, never-ending. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once, yet nowhere in particular. Then something brushed against Alex's shoulder, a cold, intangible touch that made the hairs on the back of their neck stand on end. Heart hammering, the journalist forced themselves to descend, gripping the railing tightly. With each step, the whispers grew louder, sibilant words too quick to comprehend, punctuated by quiet sobs and wails that seemed to come from the very walls. By the time Alex reached the bottom of the lighthouse, the storm had intensified, rain lashing against the cracked windows and waves crashing violently against the rocks. Shivering and soaked, they pushed through the rusted gate and stumbled toward the safety of the cliffs. But as they glanced back, the lighthouse seemed to pulse with a dim, otherworldly glow, the top light flickering in a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. And for a fleeting second, Alex swore they saw the figure standing at the edge, smiling, as is acknowledging the escape. For now, and next morning, Alex barely slept. The storm had passed, leaving behind a mist that clung to the cliffs like a ghostly veil. The lighthouse stood in silence, seemingly harmless in the daylight, but the memories of last night's encounter were vivid and unshakable. Every shadow in their apartment seemed to stretch unnaturally, every creak of the floorboards reminiscent of the lighthouse's haunting whispers. Compelled to investigate further, Alex returned to the scene, but this time armed with more equipment. Infrared cameras, motion sensors, and an array of digital recorders. The town's locals had avoided the lighthouse for decades, speaking in hushed tones about the cursed history. But Alex was determined to uncover the truth. According to records, the lighthouse had been the site of countless mysterious disappearances, sailors vanishing without a trace, some claiming to hear faint wails on foggy nights. As Alex approached the lighthouse, the familiar chill settled in like an old friend or a predator. The storm's aftermath left the platform slick with rain and moss, but Alex pressed on, documenting every detail. The camera captured the subtle distortions in the air, the flickers of light that weren't explained by natural phenomena. And then, The whispers returned, faint at first, just at the edge of hearing. "Why are you here?" a voice hissed, barely audible, but unmistakably directed at Alex. The journalist froze. The platform, so solid in daylight, seemed to warp subtly, as if breathing. Shadows elongated unnaturally, forming shapes that twisted and writhed, moving independently of the light. Alex's hands shook, but the recorder captured everything. Every flicker, every whisper. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt fractured, irrelevant. Alex felt drawn to the top of the lighthouse again, compelled by some invisible force. The spiral staircase groaned beneath their weight, and the temperature plummeted. Breath formed thick clouds, and condensation fogged the lenses. The silhouettes returned, more distinct this time, standing along the walls, watching silently. Then, the central figure appeared again. The coat, tattered and soaked. The glowing eyes. The twisted face. It was unmistakably the same spirit from the night before. It raised a hand, pointing toward the lens of Alex's camera. The journalist felt an intense, almost physical pressure in their chest, a pull toward the edge of the platform, the same edge that had almost claimed them during the storm. The whispers coalesced into word. Alex's instincts screamed to run, but curiosity and the drive for the story held them in place. The figure began to fade, dissolving into the mist, but the glow of its eyes lingered, piercing through the lens into Alex's soul. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. Exhausted, shaken, and drenched in cold sweat, Alex stumbled back to the cliffs, the lighthouse looming silently behind. Key equipment recorded anomalies that no natural explanation could justify. Infrared streaks, temperature drops, and the unmistakable, lingering presence of the ghostly captain and his watchers. But even as Alex left, a nagging feeling remained. The lighthouse was not done with them. Something had been awakened, a connection forged between the living and the spirits trapped within those weathered walls. And deep down, Alex knew that this was only the beginning. Alex barely remembered the walk back to the car. The fog clung to their skin like a cold embrace, and the salty scent of the sea mingled with something far older, far more sinister. Every step felt like walking through molasses, the weight of the lighthouse's presence pressing down on their chest. Once inside the car, Alex reviewed the footage. The images were distorted beyond recognition at times, shadows stretching impossibly, shapes flickering in and out of existence. But the audio was even more unsettling. Whispers, faint at first, became coherent as they listened, carrying warnings accusations and moments of chilling clarity. Leave or join us. At night, sleep came in fragments. Dreams were invaded by flashes of the lighthouse, the mist, and the spectral captain's glowing eyes. Alex saw sailors, lost and wandering, their faces frozen in terror, some reaching toward the journalist as if pleading for rescue. Each dream felt more vivid than reality, leaving Alex drenched in cold sweat, heart racing, gasping for air as if pulled underwater. Intending to analyze the footage and audio more thoroughly, but as the sun rose the next morning, they discovered the first disturbing clue. Recordings on the camera had been altered overnight. The timestamps were skewed, shadows moving independently, and an unfamiliar figure now appeared in every clip, watching, waiting. The coat was tattered, the eyes glowing, the same captain from the lighthouse, but closer this time, as if he had followed Alex home. Paranoia set in. Alex noticed shadows in corners of the apartment, cold drafts passing through closed doors, and whispers echoing from empty rooms. The line between waking and dreaming blurred. The journalist realized with horror that the lighthouse hadn't just been a location. It was a gateway. Something had latched onto them, tethering Alex to the cursed place. In the final act of desperation, Alex tried to leave town, pack up, and escape the relentless presence. But each route seemed blocked by unnatural fog, roads looping back, and signs pointing toward the cliffs. Even attempts to call friends or authorities ended in static, broken voices, and fleeting glimpses of the ghostly captain on video calls. The last recording found on the camera was a single frame, Alex's own reflection, overlaid with the captain's. Alex disappeared that night. Their car was found abandoned on the cliffs, doors open, equipment intact, but the journalist nowhere in sight. Locals whispered that the lighthouse had claimed another soul, adding yet another chapter to its dark history. And on foggy nights, if one dares to approach, faint whispers can still be heard, carried by the wind, a warning and a promise echoing across the cliffs and the waves. The lighthouse stands silently to this day, waiting for the next curious soul, brave or foolish enough to uncover its haunted secrets. And somewhere in the mist, Alex watches, caught forever between the living and the dead.